Oh, now I'm like tripping over my words and stuff. Like I felt it switch. I was like, I'm really confident with these questions. I'm really doing it. Now I'm like, I.
There are so many people with their own stories and philosophies. We all walk our own paths and go through different things in our lifetime. What bonds us is when we take a second to slow down and relate to others through their emotions, experiences, and wisdom. Hello, everyone. My name is Esteban. My goal is for us to learn from the many lives and the many feelings of others. I will ask these people random questions which they have no prior knowledge of, with the intent of engaging their opinions and thoughts, which will provide a perspective of truth and knowledge to all of us.
My name is Liz Zamorsky. You can find me at thefemmegenius on Instagram. And I'm a psychic tarot reader living in Western Sweden. I've been here for about 6 years and really enjoying my life here.
What has been a tough pill to swallow?
That I don't have to know everything. I grew up, like most people, believing that knowledge is power, and that in order to get control and power over my life, I had to know everything and like never be beyond a question and never say I don't know and have it all figured out. And I've learned really fast by being an entrepreneur that I can't possibly have it all figured out, but that it's all still going to be my responsibility. So it's been I've really held on to having to know everything for a really long time to my detriment. So that's been a tough one.
One thing I love about this series is that I kind of heal through the questions as well, because I'm an entrepreneur too. And I think one of the toughest things, this is my second round as an entrepreneur in life. One of my hardest lessons has been releasing, all that control that, I'm trying to have, learn how to delegate a little more, learn to be open and really just take things one step at a time. So I appreciate that answer. How would you describe your current life to your younger self?
It's amazing. Like everything that you imagined being an adult would be, it's so much better than that. And it's because you were really brave and you made a lot of choices that made this possible, and like kept believing that it was possible, because it was not always like this. So it's better than you can even imagine. Keep believing in the magic. Keep believing that every brave step you take is going to pay off.
What has been your most generous moment in life?
Giving birth.
Love that.
That was a real act of generosity on a lot of levels. And then everything that followed after that kind of required even more. So, but yeah, that was definitely the moment.
What does it feel like to become a mother?
A nightmare you can't wake up from. Not because of the kid or anything, but just that realization that you're on a learning curve now that's just not going to stop. Even when you think you've got it, they keep growing and evolving and having different needs. And so, just it's okay to be on the learning curve, but it's been really challenging. I definitely have had to. It was a catalyst for a lot of my healing. Oh, yeah. Now I'm like tripping over my words and stuff. Like I felt it switch. I was like, I'm really confident with these questions. I'm really doing it. Now I'm like, yeah, it's really tough to basically like have to face your shit. Like to really have to face like all the ways that you were underserved as a child, that you had to kind of grow up before your time, or where the ways things affected you at different ages, and you come face to face with that, and you come face to face with those choices of, are you going to do it that way, or are you just going to step into the dark and try to figure out your way? So it's shifted everything for me.
Amazing. One thing that I'm taking away from your response that I can relate to is that the healing, the growing, the learning, it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, and possibly in the afterlife, it doesn't stop. So yeah, it's one of
Yeah.
those things. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
What makes you feel defensive?
These questions.
Love it.
I'm going back to my first answer, like not knowing, not having all the information or not feeling like I have all the answers or feeling like, especially in entrepreneurship, so much of it is learning as you go and then you suddenly know how to do something. But that feeling of just always trying to find the answer, that can be really destabilizing and like really exhausting. And so that puts me in defensive mode for sure.
Yeah, it is exhausting. That and the imposter syndrome, all that other uncertainty, doubt. Ugh.
Yeah.
But I think that's what keeps it fun too, whether we know it or not.
It does. I mean, like I definitely could not at this point visualize myself going into an interview scenario for a job and trying to sell myself because I'd be like, listen, you guys can't afford me. Like the amount of skills that you've had to build as an entrepreneur, the amount of resiliency, the amount of just like taking things as they come to a certain extent, like there's such hard skills, but once you have them, it's almost like I can't go back and answer to somebody else.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I first became an entrepreneur, I was so confident. I was young. I was like 19 when I opened my first business, 21 when I opened my second. By 20 years old, I bought my first house. I was making almost $500,000. It was just so much confidence radiating from me. But then I went through something very traumatic in life, a divorce and separation from my child. It was like bad. 10 years of trying to heal. And then as I started to become an entrepreneur again after leaving corporate America, it was so hard to value myself like I did previously. But now I want to say in the last 2 years, I'm in that same place now where I'm just like, you can't afford me, or, no offense to you. Like, this is my rate and this is what I'm valued at. So yeah, that's been so empowering as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How do you love?
With my whole heart.
And how does that express itself?
It is allowing people to be vulnerable in my presence, allowing people to just show up as themselves, and basically like taking everybody as they come and believing what they say to me and just being allowed, like for people to feel safe being themselves and with me. That is like, to me, a whole heart of love, just saying like, I accept you. So all I ask is that you show up as yourself.
I was just going to say, do you expect the same?
Yeah, I definitely show up as myself, like warts and all, I feel like I've come to a point where I'm not scared to show up as myself.
Amen. What is the saddest moment in your life?
The day my brother died.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first Mother's Day as a mother, and I was living abroad and I got a call from my sister from Virginia at like 2 a.m, her time. And I still remember, like I was standing in our bedroom, I was holding our daughter, and my husband was sitting on the bed because he had just given me my first Mother's Day gift, which was so beautiful. And we were in this moment and my phone rang and I was like, why is my sister calling me? And then my first thought was, who is it? Because like I kind of knew that it had to be something that level for her to call me like that. And like when we got on the phone, she said, she was like, are you holding the baby? And I was, because my baby was like 6 months old at the time. She was like, put her down. And in my head, there was like immediate just like rage, like just tell me. And I was like, just say it, like just tell me. And then she said it. She was like, our brother died tonight. And it was like when people describe like the room falling away from them, it was like reality just like depixelated in that moment. Like the room just fell away from me. And years later, I asked my husband about his perception of that moment. Like it took me a long time to even bring that up with him. And when he described that moment, he was like, a noise came out of you that I just had never heard a human make. And like, I have no recollection of that. But it was like that moment, I was like, there was a not knowing before this moment. And now, almost like giving birth, like there's a not knowing what it is to fully be a parent, like, or to have a child in the world until you're in it. And it was like that moment, I knew, like, I couldn't unknow that grief. Even though I didn't fully believe what was happening, it was like my body knew. And I'm surprised how much the human body can grieve based on that. And it's still surprising. Like, I can't believe that I'm holding it together right now, like talking about it, because it constantly surprises me where something will happen and it's almost like someone just like wiped dust off the surface and the grief is right there. And like, I don't realize how close to the surface it must always be in order for those things to affect me so quickly when they do. And I found a lot of like hidden resentment in my life for people who don't have to go through like that level of grief, or like as a child, like growing up in a really abusive household, like the resentment that I held for people who didn't know what that was like. Like I didn't realize that I had so much resentment, or like so much resentment around like the sadness in my life until I grieved or started grieving my brother's death. And then I felt like that was a big catalyst for me to heal a lot of other sadness that I was carrying around.
Yeah, I got goosebumps just hearing your story, and I'm very sorry that happened. I can't imagine what that feels like. I have only one sister, and I'm like, just thinking about it.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was in May of 2014. So it's almost been 9 years.
Yeah, and you're right. I've lost people in my life, and that doesn't go away. I mean, I've lost
Yeah.
people 30 years ago, and I'm still kind of like, if we talk about it, I might shed a tear. So yeah,
Yeah.
totally understand that, and I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable with that.
Thanks.
What is a tradition you love and cherish?
Like Pancake Saturday.
Okay.
I did not grow up having like, special breakfast and stuff. It was usually like me and my siblings waking up before my parents and like putting Eggos in the toaster, like, us trying to like make them breakfast in bed and stuff. And so as an adult, like with my own family, I really love like getting up on Saturday morning and, I'm just going to give you like the whole scenario really fast, is that we live on this small island, and on the island they have this little shed called the give box, where it's kind of like leave stuff, take stuff, and like reuse other people's stuff. And my daughter, when she was like 5 years old, she found this commemorative Elvis platter there in Sweden, in this little shed on this island. And she brought it home and she was like, "Isn't it beautiful? I know you like Elvis." Maybe because I'd listened to Elvis on a playlist at one point or something. And I was like, "It's my most cherished item. Thank you so much for this Elvis plate." And so on Saturday mornings, we make like Swedish pancakes or Swedish waffles, and, from scratch. And then we always serve them on the Elvis plate. And like, usually we'll have to have like Elvis music playing while we're making this breakfast. But I love like that feeling of us having bathrobes, which as a child to me was a huge luxury. So I'm like, oh my gosh, look at us. We all have bathrobes. Like we're making this stuff from scratch. Like we're listening to fun music. The kitchen smells so good. And I get to do it every week. So I love that. I love like making those traditions as an adult. So my name is Liz Zamorsky. You can find me on Instagram at thefemmegenius. You can also find my website, www.lizzamorsky.com. I'm a psychic tarot reader. I love meeting people one-on-one to really expand their understanding of where they're at, where they're going. It's a really safe space and we have a whole lot of fun. And I host a retreat here on the island that we live on every summer. It's for 6 days, and it's just like adult summer camp and really learning how to open your intuition at the same time. So people can find that on my website. And I guess my parting wisdom would be just have fun with it. Like when I wake up in the morning, my prayer in the morning is go ahead and dazzle me today. And I'll tell you that just setting that intention or opening myself up to that every day as an adult, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, it never ceases to amaze me, the things that I do find throughout my day that do dazzle me. So I would just, as a little truth or dare, um, for the next 30 days, just wake up and tell the world to dazzle you and see what kind of unfolds for you.